The awakening in snow you wake slowly. In the frozen trenches of World War II, your breath rises like small clouds, disappearing into the dark December air. The year is 1944, and you are far from home. Snow falls softly, quietly, covering everything in white silence. You open your eyes and see the wooden beams above you. They are rough, weathered, covered in frost that sparkles faintly in the dim light. This is Belgium, the Ardennes forest, where ancient trees stand like silent witnesses to history. The temperature hovers near 15 degrees Fahrenheit, far below freezing. Your wool uniform, standard issue M1943 field jacket, provides some warmth, but not enough. Beneath it, you wear layers, an olive drab wool shirt, cotton undershirt, and long underwear, all regulation issue. Your boots, the leather combat boots that every American soldier knows, are stiff from the cold. Inside them, your feet feel distant, numb, wrapped in 2 pairs of wool socks. Trench foot, you've been warned about it. A condition where feet freeze and decay. From prolonged exposure to cold and moisture, you wiggle your toes carefully, making sure you can still feel them around you. Other soldiers sleep, or try to. Some sit quietly, staring at nothing, their faces pale, exhausted. The trench is narrow, about 6 feet deep, dug into the frozen earth. Wooden duckboards line the bottom, keeping you slightly above the icy mud. The water seeps through in places. The walls are reinforced with timber, sandbags, and whatever materials could be found. Above you, camouflage netting stretches across the opening, dusted with snow. It is Christmas Eve, December 24th, 1944, but here, in this frozen place, Christmas feels like a distant memory, a story from another world. You think of home, of warm houses, glowing lights, families gathered around decorated trees. The tradition of Christmas trees came from Germany, brought to America by immigrants in the 1800s. By the 1940s, nearly every American home had one during the holidays, decorated with strings of popcorn, paper chains, and glass ornaments. Your family's tree, you remember, always stood in the corner of the living room. Your mother would place a silver star on top, carefully, while you and your siblings watched. The scent of pine filled the house, mixing with cinnamon, cloves, and baking cookies. But here, there are no trees, no lights, no warmth, only snow, silence, and the distant sound of artillery, like thunder that never quite fades. You pull your blanket closer, a standard issue olive drab wool blanket, scratchy but essential. It weighs about 4 pounds and provides minimal insulation, but it is better than nothing. Next to you, your rifle rests against the trench wall, an M1 Garand, 8-round capacity, semi-automatic. It is your constant companion, your responsibility, your survival. You've cleaned it obsessively, even in this cold, because a frozen rifle is useless. The metal is so cold it burns your skin if you touch it without gloves. Your gloves, leather with wool lining, are worn thin, but you keep them on always. Slowly, you sit up, careful not to disturb the others. Your body aches, stiff from the cold and from sleeping on frozen ground. You've been here for 3 weeks. Though it feels like months, Time moves differently in war, stretching out in moments of boredom, then compressing in seconds of terror. But tonight, it is quiet. The Battle of the Bulge has not yet begun, though you don't know that. You don't know that tomorrow, German forces will launch their last major offensive, catching Allied forces by surprise. You don't know that this quiet Christmas Eve is the calm before a storm. For now, you simply exist. In this moment, in this trench, surrounded by snow and silence, you reach into your pocket and pull out a letter from home. It arrived 2 weeks ago, already read a dozen times, the paper soft from handling. Your mother's handwriting, careful and neat, tells you about neighbors, about the church Christmas pageant, about your younger sister's new job at the factory. She doesn't mention the war, not directly, but you can feel her worry in every word. We pray for you every night, she writes, and we light a candle in the window so you can find your way home. This tradition, lighting candles on Christmas Eve, dates back centuries in Europe, symbolizing hope and guidance. American families adopted it during the war, a small beacon. For absent soldiers, a light in the darkness. You fold the letter carefully and return it to your pocket, close to your heart. Around you, the trench begins to stir as dawn approaches, though you cannot see the sun yet. The darkness softens slightly, from black to deep gray. Other soldiers wake, stretching, coughing, their breath visible in the frigid air. Someone strikes a match, the sudden flame bright and warm, lighting a cigarette. Lucky Strike, or Camel, or Chesterfield. Cigarettes are part of the ration, included in every soldier's K-ration pack. Each K-ration contains a meal, crackers, canned meat, candy, instant coffee, and cigarettes. The cigarettes aren't just for smoking. They're a currency, traded for favors, for food, for small comforts. The soldier with the cigarette, you recognize him. Private Miller from Ohio, nods at you slowly. "Merry Christmas, pal," he says quietly, his voice rough from the cold. "Merry Christmas," you reply, and the words feel strange, surreal, in this place. How do you celebrate Christmas in a frozen trench, surrounded by war, by death, by endless cold? The myth of Christmas, the legend you grew up with, spoke of joy, of magic, of miracles, but here, the reality is different. Here, Christmas means the same cold, the same hunger, the same fear, with perhaps slightly better rations. The army has promised turkey for Christmas dinner, though you doubt it will arrive. Supply lines are stretched thin, and food is rarely what they promise. More likely, you'll receive the standard ration, canned hash, hardtack biscuits, and coffee, but still, the promise matters. The idea that someone remembers, that Christmas exists somewhere beyond this frozen world. You stand slowly, your joints protesting, and stamp your feet gently, trying to restore circulation. The duckboards creak beneath you, worn and slippery with ice. You grab your rifle, checking it automatically, a habit so ingrained you barely think about it. The bolt slides smoothly, not frozen. Good. You've kept it wrapped in cloth when not in use, protecting it from moisture and ice. Other soldiers begin their morning routines, such as they are. Someone starts heating water in a canteen cup, balanced over a tiny fire made from twigs and scraps. The fire is barely visible, hidden below the trench line. to avoid attracting enemy attention. But even a small flame provides warmth and the possibility of hot coffee, instant coffee, terrible coffee, but hot, and that makes all the difference. You join them, crouching by the small fire, extending your hands toward the feeble heat. The warmth touches your fingers, barely, but you close your eyes, and for a moment, you imagine you're somewhere else. You imagine you're home, in your kitchen, with your mother making breakfast. She always made oatmeal on winter mornings, thick and sweet, with brown sugar and butter melted on top. Sometimes, if sugar wasn't rationed, she added raisins, plump and soft. The oatmeal was served in blue ceramic bowls, passed around. The table, steaming and perfect. You can almost smell it, almost taste it, almost feel the warmth spreading through your chest. But then you open your eyes, and you're back in the trench, holding your hands over a fire the size of your fist. Reality returns, cold and sharp. But you don't mind for a moment. You were home, and that moment matters. Coffee's ready, someone says, and passes you a canteen cup filled with dark liquid. You wrap your fingers around the metal, feeling the heat through your gloves. You lift it carefully, blow gently, and take a sip. It's bitter, metallic, barely recognizable as coffee, but it's hot, and you drink it gratefully. The liquid warms your throat, your chest, spreading through your body like a small sun. You drink slowly, making it last, savoring every drop. Around you, the trench comes fully to life, as soldiers prepare for another day. Some eat cold rations, crackers and canned cheese, chewing slowly. Others write letters, using precious paper and pencil stubs, writing home, telling lies about being fine. You wonder what you'll write, if you write today. What can you say that won't worry your mother, that won't betray military secrets, that captures any truth of this experience? The weather is cold, perhaps, but we're managing. We have enough to eat, a lie, and the men are in good spirits, another lie. But these are the lies that comfort, that allow families to sleep at night. And so you tell them, the lies are a gift, a kindness, a way of protecting the people you love from the reality of war. The snow continues to fall, soft and steady, covering everything. It covers the barbed wire stretched across no man's land. It covers the shell craters, the abandoned equipment, the things you don't speak about. It makes everything clean, pure, almost beautiful in another context. This snow would be perfect for Christmas, for children playing, for sledding, for snowmen, but here, the snow is just another enemy, making everything colder, wetter, more difficult. Still, you watch it fall, mesmerized by the gentle descent of flakes. Each snowflake is unique. You learned that as a child. No two exactly alike. Even here, in this place of war and death, nature continues its patterns, its infinite creativity. There's something comforting in that, something that reminds you that the world is larger than this trench, this battle, this war. Somewhere, in forests untouched by fighting, snow falls on pine trees, and deer move quietly through clearings. Somewhere, children are waking up, excited for Christmas, running to see what Santa brought. Somewhere, life continues normally, impossibly, wonderfully normal, and someday, you tell yourself, you'll return to that normal world. You'll walk down familiar streets, Eat at the kitchen table, sleep in a real bed, with clean sheets and soft pillows. You'll hear your mother's voice, not in memory, but in reality, calling you for dinner. You'll sit by the fire with your family, and Christmas will be what it used to be, but for now, you're here, in Belgium, in winter, in war. And so you finish your coffee and set down the cup and prepare for the day, whatever it brings. Your eyelids grow heavy as you rest against the trench wall. The sounds of morning fade slightly, becoming distant, soft. The snow falls gently, continuously, like a lullaby made visible. You close your eyes just for a moment, and in that moment, you drift back toward sleep, toward dreams. Your breathing slows, deepens, matching the rhythm of falling snow. The cold recedes slightly as your body surrenders to exhaustion, and somewhere, in the space between waking and sleeping, you feel peace. Just for now, just for this moment, there is peace. Your eyelids grow heavy, and the snow hums softly, whispering through the frozen forest. You drift into a deep, restful sleep. The memory of warmth. You wake again, slowly, to the sound of voices, soft voices, speaking quietly, careful not to disturb the fragile peace of morning. Your eyes open, and you see pale daylight filtering through the camouflage netting above. It is Christmas morning, December 25th, 1944. The snow has stopped falling, and the world is wrapped in white silence. Everything is muffled, soft, as if the earth itself is holding its breath. You sit up carefully, feeling the stiffness in your back, your shoulders, your legs, sleeping on frozen ground. Leaves its mark in aches that settle deep into your bones, but you are alive, you are breathing, and for this moment, that is enough. Around you, soldiers are gathering, forming a small circle in the wider part of the trench. You join them, moving slowly, your body protesting each step. In the center of the circle, Sergeant O'Brien stands, holding something wrapped in cloth. He is from Boston, a career soldier with a weathered face and kind eyes. He has been through North Africa, Sicily, Normandy, and now here. He has seen more Christmases away from home than with family, and it shows in the lines around his eyes. Men, he says quietly, I know this isn't how any of us wanted to spend Christmas. His voice is gentle, understanding, without false cheer or forced optimism. But we're here, and we're together, and that means something. He unwraps the cloth slowly, revealing his treasure, a small evergreen branch, perhaps 8 inches long, dusted with snow. It is not a Christmas tree, not really, but it is green, and it smells of pine, and it is enough. Found this yesterday, O'Brien continues, out past the wire, growing from a stump. He props it carefully against the trench wall, where everyone can see it. Someone produces a piece of red cloth, torn from a medical supply pouch, and ties it gently to a branch. A decoration, simple, makeshift, beautiful. Another soldier adds a piece of silver foil, salvaged from a ration pack, crumpled into a star shape. Slowly, the tiny branch becomes something more, something sacred. This is not the Christmas of your childhood, with tall trees and abundant ornaments, but it carries the same spirit, the same intention, the same desperate hope. You remember learning about the first Christmas trees in America. German immigrants brought the tradition in the 1830s, settling in Pennsylvania, bringing their customs with them. At first, other Americans thought it was strange, even pagan, decorating trees and bringing them indoors. But by the 1850s, the tradition spread, popularized by images of Queen Victoria's family celebrating with trees in England. By the early 1900s, Christmas trees were sold in town squares, shipped by railroad from northern forests. Families would select them carefully, carrying them home, setting them up with ceremony and joy. Glass ornaments came from Germany, delicate and expensive, treasured and carefully stored. Strings of popcorn and cranberries were made by children, sitting around tables, threading needles, laughing. Candles were clipped to branches. Real candles, dangerous but magical, lit on Christmas Eve, flickering like captured stars. Your family always placed the tree near the window, so neighbors could see it, so its light could shine into the street. Your father would say, "A light in the window welcomes strangers and guides travelers home." Now, looking at this small branch in a frozen trench, you understand the tradition differently. It is not about the size of the tree or the abundance of decorations. It is about the act, the intention, the refusal to let darkness win completely. It is about saying, even here, even now, we remember beauty, we remember home, we remember hope. O'Brien reaches into his pack and pulls out a small prayer book. It is worn, the leather cover cracked, the pages soft from handling. He opens it carefully, finds a page, and begins to read. His voice is steady, quiet, carrying through the cold air. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus, the Christmas story, from the Gospel of Luke, familiar words that resonate differently in this place. And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, a child born in a stable, among animals, in the cold, far from comfort, a child born while an empire waged war, while soldiers marched, while the world turned indifferently. Perhaps, you think, that first Christmas was more like this than the versions in paintings and carols. Perhaps it was cold, uncertain, frightening, with hope being the only gift that mattered. O'Brien continues reading, his voice unwavering. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men, peace on earth. The words hang in the air, ironic, painful, yet somehow still true, because in this moment, in this trench, there is peace. No shells are falling, no bullets flying, no violence interrupting this fragile ceremony for these few minutes. There is peace, even if the war continues beyond this small circle. When O'Brien finishes reading, he closes the book gently. No one speaks for a long moment. Then, softly, someone begins to sing, "Silent Night, Holy Night." The voice is hesitant at first, uncertain. But then others join. All is calm, all is bright. The song rises, gentle, harmonizing imperfectly but sincerely. You add your voice, feeling the words in your throat, in your chest. Silent Night was written in Austria in 1818 by a young priest named Joseph Mauer. He wrote it for Christmas Eve Mass in a small village church after the organ broke. It was meant to be sung with guitar, simple, accessible, beautiful. By the early 1900s, It had spread around the world, translated into dozens of languages. During World War I, soldiers sang it in trenches. German and Allied troops, the same song in different tongues, on Christmas Eve 1914. During the famous Christmas truce, soldiers from both sides met in no man's land. They sang carols together, shared food and cigarettes, played football, refused to fight for one night. Humanity overcame war, and men saw each other as brothers, not enemies. The officers hated it. The generals condemned it, and it never happened again on such a scale. But the story persisted, a legend of hope, proof that even in war, humans could choose peace. Now, 30 years later, you sing the same song in another war, in another frozen place, and you wonder, are German soldiers singing it too, in their trenches, just a few hundred yards away? Are they also cold, also hungry, also dreaming of home? The song ends, and silence returns. But it feels different now, warmer somehow, despite the cold, connected, despite the isolation. O'Brien produces one more surprise, reaching carefully into his pack. He pulls out a small tin, about the size of his palm, wrapped in paper. The lieutenant got this through yesterday, he says, from division headquarters. He opens the tin carefully, revealing its contents. Chocolate. Not the hard D-ration chocolate that tastes like wax, but real chocolate. From the Red Cross. Hershey's chocolate, made in Pennsylvania, where your grandmother once lived. The Hershey Company had been making chocolate since 1900, building an entire town around the factory. During the war, they produced special ration bars, designed to withstand heat and provide energy. But they also sent real chocolate bars to remind soldiers of home, of sweetness, of normal life. O'Brien breaks the bar carefully, dividing it into small pieces. There are 12 men in this section of trench, and the bar has 12 squares. Perfect. He passes one piece to each soldier, placing it carefully in outstretched hands. When your piece arrives, you hold it gently, not eating immediately. You look at it. This small brown square, ordinary and miraculous. It weighs perhaps half an ounce, but it carries the weight of home, of kindness, of someone remembering. Slowly, you place it on your tongue and let it melt. The taste is overwhelming, sweet, rich, complex, chocolate and sugar and milk, flavors you've almost forgotten. You close your eyes, letting the taste spread, savoring every molecule for this moment. You are not in a trench. You are in your grandmother's kitchen, and she is giving you chocolate, sneaking you a piece before dinner. She would wink and put a finger to her lips. Our secret, she would whisper, and you would eat it slowly, making it last, feeling special and loved. Your grandmother died 2 years ago, before you enlisted, before the war touched your life directly. But you can feel her presence now, in this taste, in this memory, in this moment of sweetness. The chocolate melts completely, and you open your eyes, and you are back. But something has shifted, something subtle but important. You feel lighter somehow, not happy, exactly, but less burdened, reminded that good things exist, that kindness persists, that humanity endures around you. Other soldiers are having similar experiences, lost in their own memories, their own moments. Some smile slightly, private smiles, thinking of people and places far away. Others cry silently, tears freezing on their cheeks, releasing emotions held too long. Both responses are valid, both are honored, both are understood. This is the reality of Christmas in war, not the myth of perfect celebration, not the legend of miraculous joy, but small moments, small kindnesses, small connections that remind you why survival matters. The day continues, slowly, quietly. There are no attacks, no orders to advance, no violence, just waiting, existing, enduring. Some soldiers write letters, filling pages with careful words. Others play cards, using a worn deck that has traveled across Europe, bent and soft. A few sleep, exhausted, taking advantage of the relative quiet. You find yourself thinking about Christmas dinners past. Your family's tradition was elaborate, rooted in recipes passed down through generations. Your mother would start preparing days in advance, baking pies, preparing vegetables, planning the feast. The turkey would go in the oven early Christmas morning, filling the house with incredible smells. Sage and thyme and butter, roasting meat, crispy skin. The table would be set with the good china, white plates with gold edges, used only for holidays. Crystal glasses would catch the light, sparkling, elegant. Your father would carve the turkey ceremoniously, standing at the head of the table, while everyone watched. The first slice always went to your grandmother, the eldest, honored. Then plates would be filled, turkey and mashed potatoes and gravy, green beans and cranberry sauce, rolls and butter. The cranberry sauce came from a can, ocean spray, jellied and perfect, with the can's ridges still visible. Your mother would apologize for it, saying she should make fresh, but everyone loved it exactly as it was. You would eat until you were full, then eat more, because it was Christmas. And abundance was part of the celebration. After dinner, you would sit in the living room, too full to move, listening to the radio. Christmas music would play, Bing Crosby singing White Christmas, a song that became instantly beloved when it was released in 1942. That song captured something, some longing for peace and normalcy, that resonated deeply during wartime. I am dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know. You hum it now, quietly, to yourself. The melody is simple, haunting, filled with yearning. Other soldiers recognize it, and some join in, humming together, no words, just the tune, floating through the cold air, a shared memory, a shared dream. Eventually, afternoon fades toward evening. The pale winter sun, which never rose very high, begins to sink. Shadows lengthen, and the cold intensifies. As it always does after sunset, you help prepare the evening position, checking weapons, organizing supplies, maintaining readiness. Even on Christmas, even during quiet, vigilance is necessary. The war doesn't stop. It only pauses, and pauses can end without warning. But tonight, the pause continues as darkness falls. Someone starts a small fire again, barely visible, carefully controlled. Water is heated, and instant coffee is made, passed around in canteen cups. Someone produces a harmonica and begins to play, softly, carefully. The music is slow, melancholic, beautiful. I'll be home for Christmas, another song of longing. another promise of return. You listen, feeling the notes settle into your chest, into your bones. The harmonica player is skilled, bending notes, adding emotion, making the simple melody profound. When the song ends, no one asks for another. The silence that follows is enough, is right, is perfect. You wrap yourself in your blanket and lean back against the trench wall. Above, stars begin to appear, pinpricks of light in the darkening sky. The same stars that shine over your home, over your family, over everyone you love. The same stars that have watched over countless Christmases, countless wars, countless human struggles. They are constant, eternal, indifferent and comforting simultaneously. You wonder if your family is looking at stars tonight, thinking of you. You hope they are. You hope they know you're thinking of them. You hope somehow, across the distance, your thoughts reach them. Your love surrounds them. Your breathing slows, matching the rhythm of the night around you. The trench settles into sleep, into dreams, into the rest that weary bodies demand. The small evergreen branch still stands against the wall, decorated with red cloth and silver foil. It glows faintly in the darkness, illuminated by starlight, by hope, by the refusal to surrender completely to despair. And as you watch it, your eyelids grow heavy. The cold fades slightly, or perhaps you've simply grown accustomed to it. Either way, sleep approaches, gentle, inevitable, welcome. You think of home one more time, of faces you love, of voices you miss, and you make them a silent promise that you will return, that you will survive, that this will not be your last Christmas. Then you close your eyes and let the darkness take you. Your breathing deepens, slows, becomes regular and peaceful. The stars continue their watch, silent guardians of the night, and in the trench, on this Christmas night, there is rest. Your eyelids grow heavy, and the winter wind whispers softly through the frozen branches. You drift into a deep, restful sleep. The brotherhood of cold, you wake to gray morning light, and the sound of footsteps in snow. Your body is stiff, colder than before, and you realize you've slept through the night without waking. Deep sleep, despite the circumstances, despite the frozen ground beneath you. Your body took what it needed: rest, recovery, surrender to exhaustion. You open your eyes slowly, adjusting to the pale December daylight. It is the day after Christmas, December 26, 1944. The holiday is over, but the cold remains, intensifying, becoming something almost alive. You sit up carefully, every movement deliberate, every muscle protesting. Around you, the trench is quiet, with soldiers still wrapped in blankets, reluctant to face another day. The small evergreen branch still stands against the wall, its decorations frozen in place. It looks different now, less festive, more like what it is, a branch stuck in frozen mud. But you're grateful it's still there, a reminder that yesterday happened, that Christmas came even here. You reach for your canteen and shake it gently. The water inside is frozen solid, useless. This happens often, water freezing overnight in metal canteens, despite being kept close to your body. The solution is to keep the canteen under your jacket, against your chest, using body heat to prevent freezing. But you forgot last night, too tired, and now you have no water. Someone nearby is already heating snow in a canteen cup, melting it over a tiny fire. You watch the process, patient, knowing you'll do the same soon. Snow takes a long time to melt and produces surprisingly little water. A full cup of packed snow yields perhaps a quarter cup of water. Thin, not quite satisfying, but it's liquid, and that's what matters. Liquid to drink, to stay hydrated, to stay alive. Dehydration in winter is dangerous, more dangerous than many realize. The body still needs water, even in cold. Even when you don't feel thirsty, cold air is dry air, and breathing it constantly pulls moisture from your lungs. The army taught you this in training. Drink regularly, even when you don't want to, even when water is scarce. You stand slowly, stamping your feet, trying to restore feeling. The cold has penetrated deeper during the night, settling into your core. You've heard stories of soldiers freezing to death in their sleep, simply not waking up, claimed by the cold. It happens more than reported. Quiet deaths that don't come from bullets. The army calls them non-battle casualties. Deaths. From weather, from disease, from conditions in the Ardennes winter, these casualties mount, rivaling combat deaths. Though they receive less attention, you're lucky. You woke up. You're still moving, still breathing. But you know others weren't as fortunate. In other trenches, other positions, other frozen places. Private Johnson approaches, moving carefully along the duckboards. He's from Texas, unaccustomed to cold like this, suffering more than most. His face is pale, his lips tinged blue, his hands shaking even inside gloves. Morning, he says quietly, his voice tight with cold. Morning, you reply, noting his condition with concern. You okay? You ask, knowing the answer but asking anyway. Yeah, he lies, just cold. You nod, understanding, accepting the lie because there's nothing else to do. What can you offer? What can you change? What comfort exists in this frozen world? Only companionship, only presence, only the reminder that he's not alone. Come on, you say, let's get some coffee going together. You gather small pieces of wood, twigs, anything that will burn. Fuel is precious, rationed as carefully as food, but coffee is essential, worth the cost. You arrange the wood carefully in a small depression below the sight line. Johnson strikes a match, his hands shaking, taking 3 tries before the flame catches. But it does catch, and the fire grows, small but determined. Pushing back against the cold, you both crouch close, extending hands toward the flames, absorbing every bit of warmth. Fire, you think, humanity's first technology, our oldest companion for thousands of years. Humans have gathered around fires, finding comfort, finding safety, finding community. Early humans used fire for warmth and cooking, but also for storytelling, for ritual, for connection. Fire is where tribes became families, where strangers became friends, where loneliness transformed into belonging. Even now, in 1944, with radios and engines and modern weapons, fire still matters. It still provides the same comfort, the same gathering place, the same sense of home. The water begins to heat, slowly, almost imperceptibly. You add instant coffee powder, turning the liquid dark, creating something that barely resembles real coffee. But when you pour it into canteen cups and wrap your hands around the warm metal, it feels like luxury. Johnson takes his cup gratefully, inhaling the steam, letting it warm his face. Thanks, he says, and means it, for more than just coffee. Thanks for noticing, for caring, for helping him keep going. You nod, sipping your own coffee, letting the bitter warmth slide down your throat. The morning continues. Slowly, quietly, orders come eventually, passed down the line, routine maintenance, position improvement, preparations. You and several others are assigned to reinforce the trench walls, adding sandbags, improving drainage. It's tedious work, exhausting in the cold, but necessary. Trenches deteriorate constantly, from weather, from use, from the simple passage of time. Without constant maintenance, they collapse, flood, become unusable, so you work, filling sandbags with frozen earth, carrying them, stacking them carefully. The physical labor warms you slightly, gets blood moving, keeps you from freezing. After an hour, your body feels more functional, less stiff, almost normal. But you're also tired, hungrier, aware of how little you've eaten. Yesterday's Christmas chocolate was wonderful, but it wasn't substantial, wasn't enough. Your stomach growls, empty, demanding attention. Sergeant O'Brien appears, carrying a wooden crate. Mail call, he announces. And the effect is immediate. Everyone stops working, turns, hopes. Mail is more valuable than food, more sustaining than warmth. Mail is proof that the other world still exists, that people remember, that you matter. O'Brien begins calling names, distributing letters and packages, each one a small miracle. Henderson, and a soldier reaches out eagerly. Martinez, and another moves forward. Davis. Your name, your heart jumps. Unexpected, joyful, you step forward, and O'Brien hands you two letters, thin envelopes, addresses in familiar handwriting. One from your mother, one from your younger sister. You hold them carefully, as if they're made of glass, fragile and precious. You don't open them immediately, wanting to save them, to read them when you can focus completely. Instead, you tuck them carefully inside your jacket, close to your heart, where they'll stay warm and dry. Around you, soldiers are reading their letters, lost in words from home. Some smile, some cry, some do both simultaneously. Johnson sits alone, holding nothing, having received no mail. His face is carefully neutral, but you can see the disappointment, the loneliness. Not everyone gets letters. Not every family writes regularly. Not every soldier has someone waiting, and the pain of that, the isolation, is sometimes worse than the cold. You approach him slowly, sitting down nearby. Hey, you say, keeping your voice casual. Want to hear what my sister says? It's an offering, a way to share, a way to include him in your connection to home. Johnson looks at you, surprised, grateful. Yeah, he says quietly. Yeah, I'd like that. So later, when the work is done, when you've found a relatively sheltered spot, you open the letter. Your sister's handwriting is messier than your mother's. Young, enthusiastic, full of energy. Dear brother, it begins. I hope you're staying warm and safe. You read aloud, translating her words into the cold air, sharing them with Johnson. She tells you about school, about her friends, about the new movie she saw downtown. We saw Meet Me in St. Louis with Judy Garland, she writes, and it was so beautiful I cried. Meet Me in St. Louis, released in 1944, a nostalgic look at American family life at the turn of the century. It featured the song Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, which became instantly popular. Your sister describes the movie in detail. The costumes, the songs, the story of a family facing change. You can hear her voice in the words. See her excitement, feel her presence. Johnson listens quietly, letting your sister's voice fill the space between. You, she continues. Mother says I should tell you about practical things, but I think you'd rather hear about normal life. She's right. You would rather hear about movies and school, about normal concerns, about a world unchanged by war. Tommy Henderson asked me to the winter dance, she writes, but I said no because he's annoying. You smile, reading this, imagining her indignant expression. Besides, she continues, I am waiting for you to come home. You promised you'd teach me to drive, remember? You do remember. A promise made before you left, standing in the driveway, her eyes pleading. When you get back, you'd said, I'll teach you. Well, take the Ford and practice on the back roads. Shed hugged you then, fierce and quick, before running back inside. Now, reading her reminder, you make the promise again, silently, to yourself. You will teach her to drive. You will go to movies with her. You will be her brother again in all the normal ways. The letter continues for 2 more pages, filled with small details, tiny pieces of home. When you finish reading, Johnson is quiet for a moment, then he says, Your sister sounds nice. She is, you reply, folding the letter carefully. She's a good kid. Thanks for sharing that, Johnson says, and you hear what he's really saying. Thanks for reminding me why we're here, why survival matters, what we're fighting for, anytime you tell him and mean it. The day moves toward evening, the brief daylight fading early. As winter days do, temperatures drop further, and the wind picks up, cutting through layers, finding skin. You huddle together, soldiers gathering for warmth, for company, for survival. Someone starts telling a story about home, about summer, about swimming in a lake. Others join in, sharing memories, creating verbal postcards of other times and places. You close your eyes and listen, letting the words paint pictures. A county fair in Iowa, with livestock competitions and pie contests. A baseball game in Brooklyn, with the crowd roaring, the crack of the bat sharp and clean. A fishing trip in Montana, with clear streams and trout flashing silver in sunlight. These stories are gifts, shared freely, creating warmth where there is cold, creating life where there is only waiting. And as darkness falls completely, and the stars emerge again, you feel something unexpected. Gratitude, not for the war, not for the cold, not for the danger, but for this brotherhood, this connection, this shared humanity. You are not alone, even in this frozen place. You are part of something, part of a group, part of a family formed by circumstance and necessity, and that, somehow, makes the cold more bearable. Your eyelids grow heavy as the stories continue. Soft voices in darkness, you wrap your blanket tighter and lean against someone's shoulder, offering warmth, receiving warmth. The stars watch silently, patient, eternal, and sleep approaches, gentle, inevitable. Your breathing slows, deepens, matches the rhythm of the soldier beside you, and together, you rest, you endure, you survive another day. Your eyelids grow heavy, and the night air hums softly through the frozen earth. You drift into a deep, restful sleep. The silence between battles, you wake to silence, profound and unsettling silence. No wind, no voices, no distant artillery, just nothing. Your eyes open slowly, and you see thick fog, dense and white, filling the trench like smoke. It hangs suspended, obscuring everything beyond a few feet, transforming the world into a ghostly dreamscape. You can barely see the soldier sleeping next to you, just a dark shape in the whiteness. The fog is so thick you can taste it, cold and metallic, coating your throat, your lungs. It is December 27th, 1944, and the world has disappeared into white. You sit up carefully, quietly, not wanting to disturb the fragile peace. Your breath adds to the fog, tiny clouds that merge with the greater whiteness. Everything is muted, muffled, as if the world is wrapped in cotton. Sound travels strangely in fog, sometimes amplified, sometimes completely absorbed. You've heard that fog like this can hide entire armies, making movements invisible, creating tactical advantages. But it also creates isolation, cutting you off from everything, everyone, leaving you suspended in whiteness. You check your rifle automatically, running hands over familiar metal and wood. The moisture from the fog has settled on everything, tiny droplets clinging to surfaces. Your rifle is damp, not frozen, but wet enough to require attention. You pull out your cleaning cloth and wipe it down carefully, protecting it, maintaining it. This rifle is more than a weapon. It is your responsibility, your survival, your constant companion. The M1 Garand was designed by John Garand, a Canadian immigrant who worked at the Springfield Armory. He spent years perfecting it, testing, improving, creating something revolutionary. When it was adopted in 1936, it became the first semi-automatic rifle issued as standard equipment to any army. Other nations still used bolt-action rifles, requiring manual operation between shots. But the M1 fired as fast as you could pull the trigger, 8 shots before reloading. This gave American soldiers a significant advantage: more firepower, faster response, better survival odds. General Patton called it the greatest implement of battle ever devised. Soldiers called it reliable, accurate, trustworthy. You call it yours. This specific rifle, issued to you, cared for by you, known intimately. You know its quirks, the slight pull to the left, the way the trigger breaks, the exact weight and balance. In darkness, you could disassemble it, clean it, reassemble it purely by touch. This knowledge is automatic now, deeper than thought, ingrained through repetition. As you finish cleaning, movement stirs around you. Other soldiers wake, emerging from sleep, confronting the fog with confusion and wariness. "What the hell?" someone mutters, staring at the whiteness. "Fog," Sergeant O'Brien says, appearing out of the white, materializing like a ghost. "Thick one, might last all morning. Stay alert." Fog changes everything, tactically, psychologically. You cannot see the enemy, but they cannot see you either. Attacks could come from anywhere. or nowhere. And you wouldn't know until too late, but movement is also dangerous. Visibility is too limited. Friendly fire becomes a real risk. So you wait and watch and listen, trying to hear through the silence. Minutes pass, stretching into an hour, then two. The fog shows no sign of lifting, remaining stubbornly thick, persistently opaque. Your stomach growls again, loudly, demanding attention. You reach for your ration pack, the K-ration breakfast unit. Standard issue. Inside the cardboard box, you find the usual contents, laid out in precise military efficiency. One can of chopped ham and eggs, a mixture that looks gray and unappealing. 4 crackers, hard and bland, but substantial. 1 compressed cereal bar, made of oats and sugar, more palatable than the canned meat. A packet of instant coffee, powdered milk, and sugar. 3 cigarettes, a book of matches, and a stick of chewing gum. This is breakfast, lunch, dinner, all variations of the same basic components. The K-ration was developed in 1942 by physiologist Ansel Keys, designed to be complete and portable. Each ration provided around 3,000 calories, enough to sustain a soldier under moderate conditions. But these are not moderate conditions, and 3,000 calories feels insufficient, inadequate. You are always hungry, always craving more, but you've learned to accept it. Hunger is just another constant, like cold, like fear, like exhaustion. You open the can of ham and eggs, using the small can opener attached to your dog tags. The P-38 can opener, officially called the U.S. Army pocket can opener, is a simple piece of folded steel, but it works perfectly, and soldiers carry them religiously, attached to key chains, dog tag chains, tucked in pockets. Losing your P-38 is almost worse than losing other equipment, because then you cannot access your food. The ham and eggs slide out, congealed and cold, unappetizing but necessary. You eat directly from the can, using your fingers, not bothering with utensils. The taste is bland, salty, vaguely meat-flavored, but your body needs it. Each bite is chewed thoroughly, swallowed deliberately, consumed with purpose rather than pleasure. You follow it with crackers, crunching through them mechanically, washing them down with melted snow. The cereal bar comes last, sweet compared to everything else, almost dessert-like. You eat it slowly, savoring the sugar, letting it dissolve on your tongue. Sugar provides energy, quick fuel, something your body craves desperately. Around you, other soldiers eat their rations, silent, focused, grateful for food despite its inadequacy. No one complains, no one comments. You simply eat and endure. After breakfast, the fog begins to thin slightly, gradually, revealing shapes in the distance. Trees emerge first, dark silhouettes, standing like sentinels in the whiteness. Then the outline of the far trench wall, the barbed wire, the landscape of war, but visibility remains limited, perhaps 50 yards, no more, enough to see immediate surroundings, not enough to feel truly oriented. Private Henderson appears beside you, moving along the trench, checking positions. Orders came through, he says quietly. We're holding position today. No patrols, no movement. You nod, relieved, glad not to venture into that fog. into uncertainty. Division thinks the Germans might be planning something. Henderson continues. They've been quiet too, suspiciously quiet. He's right. The quiet is suspicious. War has a rhythm, a pattern of noise and action. When that pattern breaks, when silence extends too long, it means something. It means preparation, planning, the calm before violence. You've learned to read these signs, to feel the tension building, to recognize the warning. Stay sharp, Henderson says. Then moves on, delivering the same message to others. You settle into position, rifle ready, eyes scanning the fog, watching for movement, for shadows, for anything. Time passes slowly, measured in breaths, in heartbeats. In the gradual thinning of fog, you think about silence, about what it means, about how it changes in different contexts. At home, silence was peaceful, comfortable, safe. Silence in your house meant everyone was sleeping, or reading, or content. You could sit in silence with your family, at the dinner table after a meal, no one needing to speak. That silence was full, rich, connected. But here, silence is different, empty, threatening. Here, silence means something is wrong, something is hidden, something is coming. You've learned to fear silence more than noise, because noise is honest, predictable, understandable. Silence conceals, deceives, hides intention. Beside you, Johnson sits quietly, staring into the fog. He's been quieter since yesterday, since not receiving mail, since being reminded of his isolation. You want to help, to comfort, but you don't know how. What can you say? What words exist that would matter, that would change anything? Instead, you simply sit near him, sharing space, offering presence. Sometimes that's all you can offer, and sometimes it's enough. You ever wonder, Johnson says suddenly, his voice soft, what will do after? You repeat, though you know what he means. After the war, he clarifies, when we go home. If we go home, the question hangs between you, heavy, impossible. You've thought about it. Of course you have. Everyone has. But thinking about after feels dangerous, presumptuous, like counting on a future that isn't guaranteed. I don't know, you admit honestly, I guess. Try to forget this. Try to be normal again. Johnson nods slowly, considering. I'm not sure he'll know how, he says. To be normal after this. His words resonate, true and frightening. How do you return to normal life after living like this, after seeing what you've seen? How do you sit at a dinner table, make small talk, care about trivial things? When you've been here, maybe normal changes, you suggest. Maybe we build a new normal. Maybe. Johnson agrees, though he doesn't sound convinced. The conversation fades, returning to silence, but it feels less lonely now. You've acknowledged the fear, spoken it aloud, shared the burden, and that, somehow, makes it more bearable. The fog continues to lift, slowly, revealing more of the landscape. By early afternoon, visibility extends to 100 yards, then 200. You can see the forest beyond the trenches, trees stripped bare by winter. Standing like skeletal fingers, the Ardennes forest is ancient, centuries old, with trees that have witnessed countless human conflicts. These woods once belonged to Celtic tribes, then Romans, then Germanic peoples, then Franks. Kings hunted here, armies marched here. history layered upon history upon history, and now you are here, another layer, another group of young men fighting in ancient ground. You wonder what these trees think, if trees could think. Watching humans repeat the same patterns endlessly, fighting over land, over resources, over ideas, over pride, always fighting, always bleeding, always claiming this time is different, this time is justified. But from the tree's perspective, perhaps it's all the same, just humans being human. The thought is both comforting and depressing. Comforting, because it means you're a part of something larger, part of history's great sweep. Depressing, because it means nothing changes, nothing improves. Humanity never learns. You shake off the philosophy, focusing on the immediate, the practical, the survivable. Evening approaches, and with it, colder temperatures. The fog has mostly cleared, leaving the sky pale and empty, colorless, and vast. No clouds, no warmth, just empty cold stretching forever. Rations are distributed for dinner, more of the same. Canned meat and crackers you eat mechanically, fueling your body, not your spirit. After dinner, Sergeant O'Brien gathers everyone. Listen up, he says, his voice carrying authority and exhaustion equally. Intelligence reports indicate German forces have been moving, positioning, preparing. He pauses, letting this sink in. We don't know when, but something's coming. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. Stay alert, stay ready, watch out for each other. His eyes scan the group, meeting each soldier's gaze individually. We've made it this far together, he continues, and we're going to keep making it. Understood? Yes, Sergeant, comes the collective response. Automatic, trained, but beneath the automatic response, you hear something else. Determination, solidarity, commitment. These men are your brothers now, connected by shared suffering, by mutual dependence. You would die for them, and they for you, not because of patriotism or glory, but because you've endured together, suffered together, survived together. That bond is deeper than blood, stronger than any other connection. It is forged in cold and hunger and fear, and it is unbreakable. As night falls, you take your position for watch, 2 hours on, 4 hours off, rotating through the night. You stand at the parapet, rifle ready, eyes scanning darkness. The stars emerge, brilliant and cold, unchanged by human conflict. Constellations you learned as a child, Orion the Hunter, the Big Dipper, Cassiopeia. Your father taught you their names, their stories, their patterns. He would take you outside on clear nights, pointing upward, sharing ancient knowledge. Sailors used these stars to navigate, he'd say, long before compasses, before maps. These same stars guided people across oceans, across deserts, home. You look at them now and feel connected to your father, to history, to everyone who ever looked up and wondered. The stars don't care about war, about borders, about human suffering. They simply shine, constant, eternal, beautiful, and somehow that's comforting. Your watch ends and you're replaced, and you return to your sleeping spot. You wrap yourself in your blanket and lie down on frozen ground. Your body aches, tired beyond tired, but you're used to it now. Sleep comes quickly, mercifully, taking you away from cold and worry. And in your dreams, you are home, warm, safe, surrounded by people who love you. Your eyelids grow heavy, and the starlight hums softly through the infinite darkness. You drift into a deep, restful sleep. The promise of dawn you wake to rumbling, distant but unmistakable, rolling across the frozen landscape like thunder. Artillery, far away, but getting closer. Your eyes snap open, and you see pre-dawn darkness. The sky just beginning to lighten in the east. Around you, soldiers are waking, responding to the sound, moving with practiced urgency. It is December 28th, 1944, and the quiet is ending. You grab your rifle, check it automatically, and move to your position. Your heart pounds, adrenaline flooding your system, preparing your body for what's coming. But beneath the fear, beneath the automatic response, you feel something else. Calm, strange, and unexpected, but real. You've been waiting for this, knowing it would come, and now it's here. The waiting is over, the uncertainty resolved, the future arriving in the present. Sergeant O'Brien moves along the trench, checking positions, offering quiet words. When he reaches you, he pauses, meets your eyes. "You good?" he asks. And you hear the real question: are you ready? Are you capable? Will you survive this? "I am good," you reply, and mean it. He nods, squeezes your shoulder briefly, then moves on. The artillery continues, a constant rumble, punctuated by sharper cracks. It's still distant, perhaps a mile away, but sound travels far in cold air. You wonder who's being shelled, which positions, which soldiers. You wonder if they're a surviving, if they're a scared, if they're a thinking of home. You say a silent prayer for them, for yourself, for everyone caught in this. The sky lightens gradually, darkness fading to gray, revealing the frozen landscape. Everything is stark, colorless, reduced to essentials: white snow, dark trees, gray sky. No warmth, no softness, no mercy. This is what war looks like, stripped of propaganda, stripped of glory, stripped of meaning, just cold ground and scared young men, and the persistent possibility of death. The artillery stops suddenly, abruptly, leaving ringing silence. That's worse somehow. The silence after. Noise, the anticipation of what comes next. You wait, breathing steadily, forcing calm, controlling fear. Minutes pass, 5, 10, 15, then voices, distant, speaking German. You can't understand the words, but you recognize the language, the accent, the enemy. They're a moving, somewhere out there in the forest, advancing through the trees. Your hands tighten on your rifle, finger near the trigger, not on it. Not yet. Training holds. Discipline maintains. You wait for orders. Sergeant O'Brien raises his hand, signaling, "Hold position, hold fire." You wait, watching, listening. The voices grow louder, closer, then fade, moving parallel to your position. Not toward it. They're bypassing you, heading somewhere else, some other objective. Relief floods through you, unexpected, guilty. You're safe, for now, but others aren't. Others are facing what you've been spared: the guilt of survival, the impossible calculus of war, the randomness of who lives and who dies. Hours pass, slowly, tensely. The artillery resumes periodically, targeting different areas, walking across the landscape. Each barrage makes you flinch, even when it's far away, even when you're safe. The sound triggers something primal, something beyond reason, pure animal fear. By mid-morning, the situation becomes clearer. The Germans have launched a major offensive. The Battle of the Bulge they'll call it later. Massive assault, hundreds of thousands of troops, tanks, artillery, everything. They're trying to split Allied forces, to reach the coast, to change the war's outcome. Your position is holding, but others aren't. The line is bending, breaking in places. Refugees begin to arrive, soldiers falling back, regrouping, repositioning. They stagger into your trenches, exhausted, wounded, traumatized. You help them, offering water, food, blankets, whatever you have. One soldier, barely 20, sits shaking, unable to speak. His uniform is torn, bloody, his eyes vacant, staring at nothing. You recognize the look. You've seen it before, the mind protecting itself by shutting down. You wrap a blanket around his shoulders and sit beside him, silent, present. Sometimes presence is all you can offer, and sometimes, miraculously, it helps. Slowly, over minutes, the soldier's shaking decreases. His eyes focus slightly, returning from wherever they went. Thanks, he whispers, barely audible. You're safe here, you tell him, knowing it's not entirely true, but saying it anyway, because he needs to hear it, needs to believe it, needs something to hold on to. He nods, pulls the blanket tighter, and closes his eyes, not sleeping, but resting, gathering strength, preparing to continue. The day continues, chaotic, uncertain, filled with rumors and fear. But your position holds. Your trench remains secure. Your small corner of the war stays stable. By evening, the situation has stabilized somewhat. The German advance has been slowed, contained, though not stopped. The battle will continue for days, for weeks, but the immediate crisis has passed. As darkness falls, exhaustion hits you like a wave. You've been running on adrenaline all day, and now it drains away, leaving emptiness. You find your sleeping spot and collapse onto it, too tired to care about cold or discomfort. But before sleep takes you, you think about everything that's happened. The past 4 days, Christmas, Brotherhood, survival. You think about home, about promises made, about the future you're fighting to reach. And you make a decision, a commitment, a vow. You will survive this, whatever it takes, however long it requires. You will return home. You will see your family. You will teach your sister to drive. You will sit at the dinner table, eat your mother's cooking, listen to the radio. You will be normal again, or find a new normal, or at least try, because that's what you owe to yourself, to your brothers, to everyone who didn't make it. You owe them survival, memory, testimony. You owe them the life they'll never have. And so you will live fully, gratefully, remembering the stars emerge overhead. Silent witnesses, eternal companions. They watched you through Christmas, through cold, through fear, and they'll watch you home. Eventually, hopefully, if you're lucky, you close your eyes and let exhaustion take you. Your breathing slows, deepens, becomes peaceful around you. The trench settles into night, into rest, into whatever tomorrow brings. But for now, for this moment, there is peace. Not the peace of safety or comfort or certainty, but the peace of acceptance, of endurance, of choosing to continue. You survived today, and tomorrow, y'all try to survive again. That's all anyone can do. Survive today. Then, Tomorrow, then the next day, one day at a time, one breath at a time, one moment at a time until finally, impossibly, miraculously, you find yourself home and this, all of this, becomes memory, a story told, a lesson learned, a chapter closed. You drift deeper into sleep, into dreams, and in your dreams, you are walking home, down a familiar street, toward a familiar house, where lights glow warm in windows. Your family is waiting. The door opens, and arms embrace you. You're safe, you're home, you're loved, and the war, for this moment, fades away. Your eyelids grow heavy, and the night wind whispers softly through the stars. You drift into a deep, restful sleep. The darkness cradles you, gently, completely, and somewhere, far away, dawn is coming, not here, not yet, but somewhere, and when it arrives, when morning breaks, you will wake, you will stand, you will continue. You will endure because that's what soldiers do, what humans do. What you do, you endure, and in enduring, you honor everyone who couldn't. You carry their memory, their sacrifice, their hope, and you move forward toward home, toward peace, toward whatever comes next. One step, one breath, one moment until finally the war ends and life begins again. Your eyelids grow heavy, and the universe hums softly with ancient light. You drift into a deep, restful sleep. Sleep well, soldier, you've earned your rest. Tomorrow, you'll wake in your own bed, warm and